a just peace in Ukraine, as well as the importance of a unified marathon across the territory of Ukraine. Today, friends, we will analyze statements that can otherwise be called pulling the wool over Ukrainians' eyes. Let's listen now to Mr. Mikhailo Podolyak, who was supposed to have coffee, if I'm not mistaken, in Yalta in 2023. For some reason, he doesn't talk about how it tasted, how much he paid for it, or what happened next. But he will explain to us in very simple terms what a just peace is, but he won't say who has to pay for it. And is Mr. Mikhailo himself ready right now to lay down his life for a just peace in Ukraine? And he will also start explaining why the United Marathon is the main salvation against Russian disinformation in Ukraine. Overall, it should be a very, very eventful episode, so watch it till the end, support us with your likes, subscriptions and comments, and also share this video with your friends so they can also understand what's happening. Let's begin.
We will bring this war to a just end.
What is a just end? Can anyone say? Or what is, for example, a just peace? Can anyone say? And with what resources, at what cost should this justice be achieved? Who should finance it? Who should lay down their life for it? Podolyak, I think he's the last person who would get up and go lay down his life for a just end to the war.
And that's despite all the hardships, despite 4 years of war. It's real. Everyone has written it off. We quickly remove ourselves from the accounts, which won't surprise us since we know ourselves, but it will be unexpected for global relations overall. It will turn out that Russia doesn't exist. It's a fiction, a fake. The only big, how do they call themselves? A paper tiger or a paper bear who spits toxic saliva at everyone, but in reality, it's just paper. And Ukraine has finally proven this to everyone. The point is that we are living through all of this while everyone else is just starting to realize that paper tigers simply need to be...
Well, yeah. We're fighting against the paper tiger with the support of the United States of America, with the support of absolutely all the countries of the European Union. We're fighting against a paper tiger, and it's about to collapse. No specifics, just ordinary populism, typical flag waving. That's probably what it is, and there's no other way to call it. At what cost? And who has to or will personally risk their life for this? And he didn't specify for one simple reason. Because he doesn't intend to be among those who have to die for what they sacrificed their lives for. That Russia is a paper bear. And of course, one of the first places where Ukraine shows the whole world that Russia is a paper bear is the telethon. Where else to talk about it? Somehow, state policy needs to be shaped with taxpayers' money. And we see that despite the huge amount of negativity due to the enormous funding of the telethon, even despite this, they continue to defend it. Even with a huge hole in the budget, they continue to fund it. It seems to me the unified marathon has been unnecessary for a long time. They start saying that television channels won't have any ads now, they're so poor and miserable, and no one will work with them. How are they supposed to survive? They need to be funded, and they all have to be on the marathon, because otherwise, how will they survive? Maybe the same way they survived before.
And now there are reasons to change the format.
The marathon works effectively, and it must work effectively during the war. Next.
How is effectiveness measured?
This is a very interesting point. How is effectiveness measured? It is measured by exactly the same thing that measures the effectiveness of Podolyak as an advisor to the head of the president's office. By nothing, but let's hear his opinion.
Effectiveness means we can conduct specific informational activities.
No, that's not an indicator of effectiveness. That's pretty much how everything happens in the country. You're asked a clear question. How do you measure the effectiveness of the telethon? Podolyak said it's very effective. How is that measured? We have the ability to broadcast state policy, but that's not a measure of effectiveness. It's just a tool how we use the telethon as one of the elements to broadcast state policy, but that's not effectiveness. Because I'm sure that if you look at the statistics for the telethon's viewership, the depth of views and so on, you'll see that it's all nonsense. Nobody is watching it. And 2 billion could have been used much more effectively.
Thank you to the politician who should ensure understanding of many processes, not get involved in them. Again, traditionally for our information space, the level of informational conflict is already high because of social networks. If we also enter into traditional informational and television conflicts, we won't be able to implement any programs. That's on one hand. On the other hand, you practically know from an economic point of view that the marathon is also a way to support the channels because there is no advertising market in the full sense of the word today.
I have a very interesting question. How do those who are bloggers survive in this case? For example, me, by the way, friends, since we're on this topic.
It will be hard for the big channels to handle all of this.
It's hard. Do you know why it will be hard for the big channels to handle it? Because big channels have always traditionally been sponsored by Ukrainian oligarchs.
In my opinion now, if a television channel, if we take it as a business, yes, a television channel is a business. If a television channel can't survive without external funding, then that channel should be closed or should be reformatted. The staff should be reduced, efficiency indicators should be improved, and the business model should be reviewed. Because if something doesn't work, it doesn't mean that Ukrainian taxpayers should feed these freeloaders just because they're poor and miserable and nobody will give them advertising.
I understand how partners look at this. These are sufficient arguments. Partners see it this way. They believe that war is not a reason to have some kind of unified informational resistance to the Russian Federation. I'm being sarcastic again, but they do listen to arguments and ask questions. That's normal. Well, and what decisions? Ours. And so once again, there are quite a lot of resources, platforms, and tools that allow you to freely talk about everything there.
Whatever you want. The question isn't about free speech, etc. But here the question is about 2 billion hryvnias from Ukrainian taxpayers, which could have been redirected to some more effective things. The marathon is just a money laundering scheme with an inflated staff, writing off money and awarding themselves fees, all from taxpayers' money. And at the very least, one of the ways these funds could be used, for example, would be not raising taxes for sole proprietors, not imposing the obligation to pay value-added tax on them, and so on.
Independent media professionals receive grants, which is normal since there's no advertising market, allowing them to work without worry, and so on. But to have a state information policy too.
So my question is, where did the advertising market go? It's very interesting. There was an advertising market, but what changed after the war started?
The advertising market was down for maybe 4 months, well, maybe 6 months, the advertising market was down.
After that, the prices for any kind of advertising, they just keep rising, rising, and rising again. I think if you've ever tried to run targeted ads, even just once on social media, you understand that the price of advertising keeps going up and up. If television channels can't attract advertisers, it means they have to shut down.
Like a non-viable business that can't support itself, it's like a disabled business. We need to counter informational and speculative threats. And we know how Russia operates. It scales up, it takes key negative topics and amplifies them within our internal space. We still need functioning platforms. Well, in addition, we need to economically support the major channels today until the advertising market recovers.
Which the advertising market will recover. Well, that's just nonsense. I don't know. I've had this feeling for quite a while now that Podolyak and this whole gang, they just take people for fools. It's all different. I can't say it any other way. What they're saying is just complete nonsense, utter rubbish. There's just no other way to call it. That's the story we've got, friends. What do you think about it? Share your thoughts in the comments. I always enjoy hearing your opinions. See you soon in the next episode. Thanks. See you next time.